cruel and lacking in empathy. And all Trump was saying was that it's like Liz Cheney would be much less of a warmonger, because she's a huge warmonger, just like her dad, if she actually had to go to the front lines and fight herself.
And meanwhile, they're saying that he's saying she should be shot.
Yes, which is a total lie. But I had like tons of people call me this weekend saying, "Oh, Trump says he's going to put Liz Cheney in a firing squad." I'm like, that is an outrageous lie. And legacy media ran with that lie, big time.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just wild to see. And if it wasn't for Twitter or X now, I don't think we would know about all this stuff. I think it would be very difficult for you. I think YouTube throttled. They did something weird. They won't say what they did, but they did something weird with the Trump interview that I did.
Yeah.
Where you couldn't find it.
It doesn't make sense.
It made no sense.
I mean, it was like the biggest interview on earth.
Yeah.
And you can't find it?
Yeah. Not only that, it wasn't trending.
Bullshit.
It wasn't trending.
It wasn't trending.
No, it wasn't trending.
You're like, there's just no excuse for that, man.
No excuse.
There's no excuse.
It was getting 1 million views, 1.4 an hour at one point in time? 1.5 an hour.
Yeah.
And it wasn't trending.
Yeah. And it's like your channel is a known channel. It's not like it was started yesterday. It's like
yeah.
It's like this is a high trust. Yours is a high trust channel. It's like you're not trying to sell scam crypto coins or something.
Well, thank God we put it on X as well.
Yeah.
Because I think just with your account and my account alone, it's like 70 million views.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's like you can't hide things anymore because of you. And if it wasn't for you, I think they would have had total control of social media by now.
Yeah.
They would have they banned so many accounts during the pandemic. So many dissenting scientists and doctors and physicians. They banned so many conspiracy theorists, so many people that colored outside the lines. They would have done that everywhere, and it probably would have. I think even at what's going on at Facebook, they're being more lenient. You know, you hear Zuckerberg talking about taking a more libertarian stance. That's entirely reaction to the way Twitter has kind of moved the watermark.
Exactly. So, as soon as any company steps out of line and is willing to actually have the truth debated on their platform, it forces the other platforms to allow things to be more truthful, to not censor, because their censorship becomes glaringly obvious.
Yes. Yes.
And the best thing I found as a rebuttal, like if there's a hoax, is just go to the source material. If somebody thinks Trump said that we should put Liz Cheney in a firing squad, I'm like, let me send you a link to X so you can watch his video. That's the best way.
Yes.
Don't take my opinion for it. Don't take anyone's opinion for it. Go to the source material.
And community notes.
Yes, and community notes.
Community notes is the best.
It's awesome.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Because everybody gets checked.
Yes, including me.
Yeah.
And with community notes, all the software is open source, and all the data is open source. So you can recreate any given note independently.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's how it should be.
Total, absolute transparency in every way. Sometimes I get asked like, "Oh, can you remove a note?" Mostly by the left, but sometimes by the right. I'm like, I don't even remove notes on my own account. Nothing. And by the way, everything is totally open. So if I did that, it would stick out like a sore thumb. Immediately. Like, it's not going to be subtle.
That is the best counter to misinformation.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Like, let everybody look at it and say, okay, here's what the actual facts say.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. The counter to misinformation is better information.
Not just that, but having it checked in real time by the community. So you have millions of people that can go over it and debate whether or not this is true or that's true.
Yes, and like I said, the best way to understand the truth of things is don't take anyone's opinion for it. Look at the source material. It's like, look at what someone actually said, look at what someone actually did, look at the real videos of the situation, and then you'll know what's real.
So, as of today, when you were literally on your way here, you sent me this text saying that they're trying to lock you up in jail in Pennsylvania. Tell me what the fuck is happening.
Well, there's the classic sort of Soros DA situation. So we're making a lot of progress in Pennsylvania. So I've given a whole bunch of talks throughout the state, because Pennsylvania is the linchpin in this election. Whoever wins Pennsylvania wins the election. So I've been giving talks. I spent 3 years in Pennsylvania. I went to college in Philadelphia. So it's not like I'm not like a total stranger to the state. I spent 3 years there, and we organized this petition in support of the Constitution, which I think is a good thing, and specifically asking people to, and we wanted this to be like registered voters in swing states. Like basically, we want to send a message to the politicians to say that the people care about the Constitution, because there've been all these attacks on the Constitution. They've been, especially on the Democrat side, they've been repeatedly saying that the First Amendment is an obstacle. And they claim, oh, the First Amendment is enabling disinformation, misinformation. And I'm like, yo, there's a reason for the First Amendment. Like freedom of speech. The reason they found out the country put, the freedom of speech there is because they came from countries where if you spoke your mind, you would get shot or imprisoned. That's why the First Amendment exists. And the Second Amendment is there to stop the tyranny of government. The Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, is there to protect freedom of speech.
This episode is brought to you by Kitanica. Looking for indestructible outdoor gear that can handle anything you can throw at it? Look no further than Kitanica, sold factory direct at Kitanica.com. They handcraft the toughest jackets, pants, shorts, fleeces, and bags in the industry. Take their unrivaled Mark Series jackets constructed with heavy-duty thread and loaded with pockets. Wearing a Kitanica jacket makes you feel invincible. Kitanica makes tactical, futuristic clothing that is built to last. So if you're into hunting, camping, fishing, contracting, or just love being in the outdoors, Kitanica has got you covered. Check out Kitanica, that's Kitanica.com. Use the code ROGAN10 for 10% off Kitanica site-wide. This episode is brought to you by Armra Colostrum. Colostrum is a safe, bioactive whole food that has long been the closed-guarded secret of insiders and the elite, but not anymore. Armra Colostrum, which in my opinion is the best colostrum on the market, is a premium bovine colostrum concentrate that utilizes proprietary cold-chain biopotent pasteurization technology to ensure its over 400 nutrients retain the purest integrity and bioavailability for maximum benefits. In research, Armra Colostrum has been found to confer 32% faster and stronger antibacterial immune protection than other colostrum products on the market. Plus, in a third-party clinical study, participants using Armra Colostrum experienced whole body benefits. 78% of the people noticed an improvement in their IBS symptoms. 80% saw improved strength, endurance, and lean muscle mass, and 87% reported improvement in their fitness recovery. Transform your health at the cellular level. Go to tryarmra.com/Rogan and enter the code Rogan to receive 15% off your first order.
And I've had these debates, especially with people in LA, because they're like, want to take everyone's guns away. And I'm like, yo, can you guarantee me that the government, that we will never have a tyrannical government in the United States? Can you make that guarantee? They're like, well, nobody can make that guarantee. I'm like, then we need to keep our guns, because that's what's going to stop it.
That sounds crazy for people to hear, because they think about gun violence and gun problems and gun this and gun that, but that's the reality of the world that we live in, is that tyranny is possible, and it exists other places, and it's slowly existing. It's slowly rearing its head in the UK. You're seeing, I think the number of people that have been arrested for just social media posts is bananas. It's in the thousands.
Yes, several thousand people have been given prison sentences in the UK for social media posts where there was no explicit link to actual violence, but they just said it encouraged violence. I'm like, well, did anyone actually do anything as a result of that media post? Well, no, but they're just and then they have a prison overcrowding situation in the UK, so they're quite literally releasing convicted pedophiles and putting people in jail for Facebook posts. There's an actual thing happening in Britain.
That is so wild.
Like you're like,
it's so wild that people
what the
can't
fuck,
see that.
is going on?
And what's insane to me
Make
is
Orwell
that,
fiction again.
Yeah. But it's all being encouraged by the left. Ketanji Brown Jackson, John Kerry, Hillary Clinton.
John Kerry was one of the people who said that he's on camera recently, like a few weeks ago, saying that the First Amendment is an obstacle to fighting misinformation.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's such a crazy thing to say when you have a solution in community notes. Yes, you have a solution in something that could clear everything up, any confusion within a day or two.
And even without a community note, you can reply to a post and with evidence that shows that the post is wrong. You don't even need community notes. I mean, community notes is helpful because it sticks to the original note.
Yes.
But in the replies, you can say, here's why you're wrong, here are the reasons, and here's the evidence.
But the argument is that people are too unsophisticated, that they're not going to research these things. They're going to be a victim of misinformation. So they're going to read something that's incorrect. They're going to run with it. People are going to die. We're going to ruin the world because people believed in misinformation. It's a stupid argument.
It's a stupid argument.
Because it's an argument that they're too dumb to know what's right or wrong. If you know, because you're saying it's misinformation, why do you think that you're smarter than everybody who reads that?
Exactly. And obviously anyone on the X system knows that things are posted and then there are replies and there are rebuttals and it's immediately corrected. But where are the corrections for the legacy media?
Right.
If some broadcast media, they say false things all the time, but it's a one-way street. There's no rebuttal. There's no counter.
Right. Right. Who's apologized for being incorrect about what? Did Rachel Maddow ever apologize for telling everybody that if you get the COVID vaccine, you're never going to get COVID? It won't. The virus stops with you.
No, never.
Never.
Yeah.
No one ever. It's just. It was not true at the time. There was no evidence to support it at the time. It's pure propaganda. And she said it. The RussiaGate hoax. For 3 fucking years, they said that he was Putin's toy.
Yes.
And that Putin had him compromised. The Steele dossier.
The Steele dossier was completely fabricated by a lawyer at Perkins Coie, who was paid by the Clinton campaign. Literally.
Crazy.
And still people think the Russia hoax is real.
And there's no repercussions. No one had to apologize. Hillary Clinton never came out and apologized for that. And people still listen to her. The whole thing is crazy. And it's all coming from the left, which... Growing up as a person who's in the left my whole life, it doesn't make any fucking sense.
Same. I mean, I was on the left until like 3 years ago. I mean,
it's not the left anymore.
It's not the left anymore. It just like I think we obviously want. I mean, I believe like we want freedom. Like we want to maximize personal liberty. And if we want to be kind to people, we want to have empathy, but it's very important to have personal freedom and a merit-based society. And the left wants to oppress your freedoms, especially freedom of speech, and they want to have a non-merit-based society, with race-based and sex-based preferences. And it's like, well, wait a second. No, we just want people to succeed based on their skills and their hard work.
And if they don't want people to express themselves about particular issues, then they're not doing the will of the people. And if they're trying to suppress people's ability to communicate, they're only doing that because they want to do things that people don't want them to do. And they want to silence opposition. That's all it is. And the 100%. Fact that people can't see that and they want to call Trump a fascist. The whole thing is it's just through the looking glass. It's just.
I mean, it's like one hoax after another that they're preparing against Trump. I mean, like they're trying to call the rally at Madison Square Garden like a Nazi rally. I'm like, there was like literally an Israeli flag in the audience. I think like a quarter of the speakers were Jewish. Like there were people of every race, color, creed, religion at that rally. Like, tell me what about that is Nazi? No, and yet it was portrayed as a Nazi rally.
Well, MSNBC, they literally showed video of the Nazi rally from the 1930s and then compared it to the Trump rally. Now, ignoring the fact that fucking Jimmy Carter spoke there.
There have been dozens of political rallies at Madison Square Gardens. Dozens on the Democrat side. Like people on X were like, and here's Jimmy Carter, and here's
a Nazi
Bill
rally.
Clinton, and here's wait a second. Actually, it looks like every presidential candidate has done on the Democrat side has done a rally at Madison Square Gardens. Are they Nazis too?
But what they're doing is they're preying on low information voters who aren't engaged actively on social media, who don't have the time to look through everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like people are living. If people are just on looking at legacy mainstream media, then they have a totally different worldview than if they're on X and seeing the actual flow of argument.
Yes.
And the actual evidence.
Well, what was the pushback? Like, what happened when you guys released the Twitter files? Because I think the Twitter files is probably one of the most important things in this age of information for understanding the influence that government has on social media and on discourse. Because when we found out that that was the case, that the government was actually asking Twitter to remove posts that were factual,
Yeah, all the time.
they did the same thing to Facebook. They had them throttle pieces of one of Tucker Carlson's show. They suppressed the views by 50%.
Yeah.
Of factual information.
Yeah, no, there was massive government interference in Twitter, but like Twitter welcomed it. That's important to all Twitter welcomed it. All Twitter was controlled by far left activists.
Yeah.
So they welcomed the government interference. They got paid by the government for it.
That's crazy. They
yes.
got paid for their time, correct?
Yeah, they got
Is that
paid
how it
millions of
works?
dollars for suppressing information.
So it's like billed
and
time.
a bunch of it was like flat out illegal. Like the FBI had this sort of magic portal into the Twitter system, but all of the communication in that sort of in this portal was auto deleted after 2 weeks, which breaks federal FOIA laws. So we don't even know what was said because it was all deleted after 2 weeks.
That's insane.
Yeah,
That's so crazy. It's so crazy that people thought that was okay.
it's super not okay.
No, it's super not okay. It's unconstitutional, and no one would want that. No one would want the government to have that kind of access.
Exactly.
And what was the blowback like when all that stuff got released? Like, you had to anticipate that there was going to be problems when you released that. Like, what happened?
Well, we got we did lose a lot of advertising dollars,
Which is crazy, because it's essentially like one of the most important forms of journalism
Yes.
is exposing government corruption.
Yes, I mean, this is the weird thing. It's like the left used to be big on exposing government corruption, but once they control the government, they no longer want to expose the government corruption.
Right. They want to pretend that the left-wing government's incapable
Yes.
of corruption, because
Yes.
we're on the good side.
I think it maybe just like, whoever's in power kind of doesn't want the other side heard. Because as you pointed out, like the left, historically, up until, I don't know, maybe even 10 years ago or something like that, was the free speech party. And now it's the anti-free speech party. And they use words like, oh, well, we have to be against hate speech and misinformation, disinformation. But these are propaganda words. It's like, well, who's defining hate speech? Who's defining misinformation? The government? Do you really trust the government to make
Right.
that definition? The whole point of the First Amendment is like, you do not trust the government.
Well, especially when they're wrong, and
Yes,
there's no
there's lies.
repercussions.
Yes.
Yeah, like with the whole lab leak theory, if you would get kicked off of YouTube if you even presented this argument that, hey, maybe that coronavirus lab where they're doing work on the exact same virus that got released,
Yep.
hey, maybe that's where it came from, since that's where
Yeah.
the virus started. What do you think, guys?
Yeah.
They kick you right off of YouTube.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. It's like, do you think maybe it could have come from a place called the Novel Coronavirus Research Institute?
Yeah, like
of
that
Wuhan?
Jon Stewart bit that he did on Colbert.
Yeah, do you
That
think-
was
It's
amazing.
like, what does it say on the door again? Can I see your business card?
And to see Colbert like resisting it with every fiber of his
Yeah, they're
being.
like, what's going to happen to us?
He was totally cock blocking the bit to the point where Jon Stewart got off his chair and
Yeah.
started walking around trying
That
to
was
take
wild,
control. Yeah, good on John.
And then the left tried to cancel Jon Stewart.
Of course.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he was right.
He's right.
And no apologies. No
Yeah.
apologies. Yeah, and the whole Fauci thing, like
Yeah.
any criticism of Fauci, it's like
Fauci's a freaking
anti-science.
demon, if you ask me.
If you read RFK's book,
Yeah.
The Real Anthony Fauci, if that's correct, if the facts are in there, that's true, it's all referenced,
Yeah.
you could find the sources, and on top of it, he's never been sued for that book,
Yeah.
which doesn't make any sense. If he just
Exactly.
made a bunch of lies up, he would get sued.
Yeah.
So the guy's a monster.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I think, like, just looking at the lies that he told, the way he tried to define gain-of-function research to Rand Paul.
But I think maybe a lot of people out there don't realize Fauci funded the bioweapons research that was going on in Wuhan. He bank shot it off. Like he can't send the money directly to China, so he just bank shot it off EcoHealth.
Right.
This like fake nonprofit in
Right.
the U.S. and they sent it to Wuhan.
And Obama put the skids on that. He stopped that in 2014.
Yes, I mean, so to give Obama some credit, he actually was like looking at this and say, hey, this is crazy, and he actually did stop the so-called gain of function, again, a propaganda word, because what is the function they're talking about? Death.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So if you actually use the right word, this is gain of function is death maximization.
Right.
Then you're like, hey guys, refund bioweapon research into death maximization, because that's what gain of function means.
Yeah, it means
That's the function.
making
Death.
a disease so that people can get it. Give it to people.
Yeah,
By the way,
what's that function again? Oh, the function is death? Oh, okay, so just
Also-
call it a death maximizing virus.
if you're
That's
doing
insane.
research on that, and the idea behind this research is so that we can cure these things, how come you don't have a fucking cure?
Start with a cure. Cure
Yeah.
first, disease second.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like, you guys had no strategy for
Yeah.
dealing with it if it got out, and so you have to like make up this new vaccine in like record time, Operation Warp Speed, release it to the people with very little testing. Fucking
Yeah.
crazy.
It was crazy.
The whole thing's crazy, and
That was
everybody
like
just
Looney
went
Tunes,
along
man.
with it.
Looney Tunes next level.
Well, it's the psyop was fascinating to watch people step in line.
That's like one of the biggest apps of all time.
Of all time.
Of all time.
Of all time. And everybody got in line. And when you take it back to when pharmaceutical drug companies were able to advertise on media in the 1990s, that changed
Yeah.
everything. We're one of two countries in the whole world that allows this.
Yeah.
And because of that, because we don't have socialized medicine, it's a complete profit scam. And they went hard, claiming all sorts of things that were never researched, all sorts of things that are not supported by data, like the fact that it would stop transmission, the fact that it would stop
Right.
infection, the fact that it was safe for pregnant women, the fact that it was safe for children. All of it's bullshit.
Yes.
And they pushed it on the whole world. And if you didn't say that at a
Yes.
cocktail party, you were a pariah.
Yes.
And you were an anti-vaxxer.
It was totally psycho.
It was like being a Holocaust denier. You
Yes.
get kicked out of
Yeah.
polite society.
Exactly.
Fucking bananas.
And I should say, like, I'm actually generally pro-vaccine overall. You know, I think we should look at these things. But I believe in the scientific method.
Yes.
So you never blanket accept anything. You never blanket accept that any given medication or any given treatment is 100% good. You should always view it with some skepticism.
Especially when you're getting the data from pharmaceutical drug companies that have like a long history of
they've
criminal
got a vested interest.
conduct.
Yes,
Yeah.
they've got a vested interest in the research. It's sort of like asking tobacco companies about, whether smoking
Right.
is dangerous.
It's exactly the same
I'm
thing.
like, according to our scientists, everything's fine.
Yeah, they lied in court forever. The same
Yeah.
thing they did with OxyContin.
Yeah.
They said that it wasn't addictive. Like, they have a long history of being full of shit if it makes them money. And
Yes.
that's what they do. That's their
Yes.
business.
They've literally lost multi-billion-dollar lawsuits
Yeah.
up in this.
Massive. They're in the. You have amazing scientists, right? You have these clinical researchers, these people that develop these incredible drugs, and this is their job. Their job is to figure out some new way to cure something,
Yeah.
some new way to stop things.
No,
Then
man, son
you have the money.
pelotudos, boludo.
And the problem is,
Pero
when
qué
you have this
pelotudo,
one
yo
thing,
ayer
that you would assume they're only doing it to help people.
Claro.
And then you have this other faction that they're all